Hi, but God damn it, Sunday is around the corner, and I LSU in for an ass whooping. Tell me why they're not. And they are a good team. They are a very good team. Florida State is better. How you gonna stop them? How you gonna stop them? That is not rhetorical. That is a legit fucking question. How you gonna stop that goddamn offense? Because you know what? You've invited me into your homes. You've invited me into your electronic devices, and I haven't even properly introduced myself. I apologize. I was raised better than that. If you were looking at this face and listening to this voice, you were tuned in to the best kept secret in sports talk. Well, all you talk about is Florida State. Well, you know what? I happen to think I'm goddamn good at it. I'm your friendly neighborhood smoker, and you are officially on the hot seat. And what we do on the hot seat, we talk about how Florida State beat the shit out of the LSU Tigers. So listen, buckle up, baby. Paying homage to the ghost over my left and my right shoulder. You came for the gospel, and God damn it, I'm gonna give it to you. Ding ding, classes in session. So how you gonna stop him? See, how you gonna stop him? But you know, you find out, you let me know. I'd appreciate it, cause I don't know how. I asked y'all this last week. How do you stop him? That is a fair goddamn question for a football team. Because for the very least 2 quarters Monday evening, they showed you that it's going to be very, very difficult to put up a game plan and match it with the proper personnel to stop that offense. And listen, let, let's rewind a little bit. I told y'all last week I thought Florida State was going to beat the shit out of LSU Tigers. I told y'all last week that LSU had no business being ranked higher than Florida State. It made me a profit. Did they? I didn't. Yeah, it made me a profit because they showed you, even halftime, seven. You know what? Let me start off here before I forget. LSU ain't like that. I thought they traveled much better than what they did. So for all of you who know anything about geography, hell, just Google this shit. Google how far Baton Rouge is from New Orleans. New Orleans is literally in Baton Rouge's backyard. And last year, when Florida State went down to New Orleans and won that game, you could literally split the stadium in half. Literally. That's just how divided that goddamn stadium was, and that's just how well Florida State travels. Flash forward to Monday evening, you saw LSU Tigers sprinkled throughout the stadium. Wasn't a lot of them. I actually found out I sat on quote unquote the LSU side. The hell I did. LSU don't travel like that. And this kind of pushes the point forward that the logo is really the goddamn logo. Florida State has been and probably will be for a very long time a what you call a national brand. They go any goddamn well. And Florida State travels very well. LSU should be ashamed of themselves. Because that looked like a goddamn home game. And moreover, it sounded like a home game. Florida State took over the Superdome last season. I promise y'all, they took over the Superdome. And it was crazy to see how I'm just figuring, number 5 ranked team in the country, um, want some payback. We got our head coach talking shit. We got the players amped up. The Baton Rouge, the LSU community is amped up. I really thought they were going to come out there and show up and show out, and they did nothing of the sort. All they did was bring that trash ass band, and that was a waste of goddamn money. Uh, anyway, back to the game. Also, last week we talked about expectations, right? We talked about Mike Norvell never seeing these type of expectations. Well, I tell you what, the expectations for this season are only going to grow. With each and every win, especially each and every impressive win, the expectations are only going to grow. And you saw, um, I told y'all last week as well. I gotta stop referencing last week. I told y'all about on the show last week that I really wanted Florida State to have a week 0 game just to hit somebody else, right? So everything wouldn't seem new, everything wouldn't seem different. because when you practice for so long, it's just practice, right? You kind of get engulfed in practice. You don't want to hit anybody as hard. There are a lot of kinks you probably want to work out in what you would call a week zero game that you don't have the opportunity to in a real week one test like Florida State had. But you saw in the first half that you saw some of the like both of Jordan Travis's that inexplicable pass where he tried to do a jump shot out of his own goddamn end zone. That was expectations. That interception, those were expectations. Um, some of Mike Norvell play calling were expectations. But listen, once I think everybody settled in, and once I think the adjustments were made, because here's something else about Mike Norvell that I like, and it also speaks to the level of confidence you should have in this football team. A lot of coaches, defensive and offensive, they have their scheme and that's it, right? Like they don't really too much make too many adjustments. They don't have a lot of alterations to make do throughout a. I don't want to say they don't because that's not fair. I think all coaches do, but not as much because they just stick to the scheme. Whatever the scheme is, this is what we're going to do. Mike Norvell isn't that kind of coach. Of course, he has the type of offense he wants to run. Every coach does. But if this isn't working, I'm going to go to this. I know how to scheme players open. I'm telling y'all, it was evident to see that LSU was selling out to stop the run. Fine. I thought it was a mistake from the jump. Once I saw their alignments and I saw how they were attacking Florida State, I said eventually this is going to bite them in the ass. And 3 touchdowns later by Keon Coleman, it bit him in the ass. You know the weakness of your team, not just the defense, but of your team is the secondary. Why not give them as much help as you can? So by having so many people in the box, you're just stopping the run. You're not even attacking Jordan Travis. You help the offense. You help your secondary by attacking Jordan Travis and getting him to make ill-advised throws. They didn't do that too much. So instead of having as many people back as you possibly could, they just tried to stop the run, which for a good portion of the game they did. But there were other facets of the game. And I think maybe LSU forgot about that shit. And boy, did they get fucking reminded Monday evening. Mike Norvell can scheme guys open. Whether Jordan saw those guys or not, there was somebody open damn near every pass play. I shit you not. Go back and watch the game. And you're looking, and a lot of it had to do with you having a lot of single high safety. I could not. It's almost like, it's almost like Brian Kelly bet on Florida State. Like I wonder how much he bet on Florida State because a lot of that shit was head scratching to me. You saw Mike Norvell coaching. You saw him do like he coached circles around Brian Kelly, and to me it wasn't shocking. To me it wasn't surprising. LSU has a lot of talent, guys. I know what you think you saw, and yeah, we all saw it, but they made LSU look way worse than what they actually are. LSU is a really goddamn good football team, and I think you'll see that as the season progresses, as the season goes along. And they just ran into a buzzsaw of a goddamn team. That team being Florida State. It's great to know that you have an offensive-minded coach who doesn't just push out whatever he wants to do out there, meaning his scheme, and we know we're going to stick to this and we're not going to deviate from it. You saw the changes he made. And even if I agree with him or not, it was a change. Like, I'm not a fan of having Jaheim Bell play. I'm not a fan of him being the third wide receiver, right? But when you saw how he was blocking out there, it made fucking sense. It gave you a lot of flexibility in relation to passing or running. And the only reason why I don't like it is because you're taking reps away from Winston Wright, who is a playmaker or who can be. He's another guy that when he was out there, he was open. It takes away reps from a guy like the kid, Destin Hill, right? There are other guys you can plug and put out there who can make plays for you who are more explosive than a Jaheim Bell. But when you look at the flexibility and what Mike Norvell wanted to do against that particular defense, it made all the sense in the world. You don't see that a lot. A lot of coaches don't have the bandwidth to do that type of stuff. They stick to whatever they know, and that's it. They will not move around. They will not adjust. They will not try to find a weakness and exploit it for the most part, right? Mike Norvell does those things, and on top of all of that, he's very fucking good at it. Like, coaching is, and I heard about this. A lot of people reported it, but I didn't really know what it looked like. I heard it, but I didn't know what it looked like. And you would hear you would hear Alex Atkins talk about they have about a good 7 to 8 guys they can play on the offensive line, and I would wonder, what the fuck does that mean? Like, how are you really seriously thinking about rotating offensive linemen? I get it, you want to keep them fresh, man, but do you really want to fucking do that? Because when you saw Bless Harris come into the game, when you saw Keandre Jones come into the game, I think I'm forgetting somebody. You were wondering, what the fuck are they doing? Didn't matter. The shit worked, which is why they get paid to do this shit. And I don't get paid to talk about this shit. But you see why they did what they did. It worked. Keandre Jones probably took somebody's job. Bless Harris probably took somebody's job. They didn't. I don't anticipate those guys to start, but I do, moving forward, I do anticipate seeing a lot more of them because they played splendidly. Maurice Smith played wonderful Monday evening. That was probably the best game I had ever seen Maurice Smith play. He did an outstanding job. And it's not even, to me, from what I saw, it wasn't even Florida State wearing them down. Florida State just got better and better as the goddamn game went on. And when I say we're down, I'm not saying I don't think LSU got tired. I just think that this worked. These players are better than your players. These players are going to work against your players. And, like I said before, I think it's not a secret. LSU has a lot of talent. The guys they played were just more talented. I told you Jordan Travis was going to be better, not because of anything I heard him doing over the offseason. I told you that because he was going to have a lot more weapons around him. The pieces around him were better. And look what happened. He looked better. When I don't look at the Heisman rankings. Who the hell looks at Heisman rankings after the first week? But if I were to, I would assume he would have moved up. Because how many players, based off what you saw Monday evening, and since we've had, thanks to the Clemson debacle, we now officially have week 1 of college football behind us. How many players can you honestly say are better than Jordan Travis right now in college football? It's not a lot of them. You can probably count them on one hand. I mean, just how impressive he looked. And that's with the 2 crazy-ass passes. It's just how in control he looked. That's just how confident he looked. He knew exactly what he wanted to do, and he threw some beautiful footballs. I mean, he threw some beautiful footballs Monday. This is a guy, like you have a confident quarterback who's been in the system 3 years. You have a coach who can prove I can scheme guys open, I can identify a weakness, I can attack that weakness, and I know how to use the proper personnel to do so. When you have those things at your disposal on a football team, how can you not be confident? When we talked about going undefeated last week, my question was, who do you know on this schedule that's better as a football team than Florida State? After Monday, I'll ask you the same goddamn question because some of you all in the comments, and I get you being apprehensive and I get you having a pause for concern because it's really, really hard to go undefeated in college football. If it was easy, more teams would do it. They don't. But, and let me preface my statement by saying, I don't believe just because you're better than the team on the other side that you should win. That's not how this goes. I'm not stupid. I understand how this works. But again, so the fuck what? Who is better than Florida State on this schedule? So how can you, I mentioned Clemson. If you saw the game, a lot of weird shit happened. A lot of crazy shit happened. Clemson probably should have won that game had everything going as, not as they would like, but had the turnovers not happened, the weird play call. I believe had that game been, call me crazy, but I believe had that game been at Clemson, they would have won. It was just something, I'm talking about from the moment I started watching, there was something off about that game. And you just had a feeling this may not go well for Clemson. You have those games, which is why I talked about the back-to-back road games with Wake Forest and Pittsburgh, and I circled the Pittsburgh game. It has a weird feeling about it. Anytime Florida State plays at Camping World, in recent memory, it has an awkward feeling about it. They normally win, right? You look at the Ole Miss game, started out funny. You look at the game against the Oklahoma Sooners, started out funny. You look at this game, started out funny, but second half they blow the doors off the goddamn team and they win. Well, this is what I'm talking about when I say undefeated. I know things happen, but all things considered, how the hell are you going to beat this team on offense? How many offenses do you think Florida State that would be quote unquote elite number one and number two? How many of because Adam Fuller's defense doesn't need to be great. It doesn't need to be stellar. It just has to be good. And I'm not talking about bend but don't break good. Just got to be good. We just need y'all to get a few stops. Florida State can, I don't want to say give up 30, but Florida State can give up a few points and be fine. Like, they don't have to be shutout after shutout good. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying they have to be, we lead the nation in fewest yards allowed. I'm not saying they have to be that good. They just have to be decent. Because Florida State, look at how the game started. After the first quarter, what would you have said if I told you Florida State was going to score almost 50? After the first quarter, what would you say if I told you Florida State was going to score 45 points in that game? You wouldn't have believed me because I was left scratching my head after that fourth quarter. I'm sorry, after that first quarter. Because I even tweeted, I talked too much shit about this goddamn team to only have 7 points, but I really wanted to wait till halftime to see the adjustments, to see the team calm down, and see them work out the kinks, and see what was going to happen. What was going to happen is what we all thought, what we all suspected to happen. They put their foot in LSU's ass. That defense, listen, guys, the more and more they get comfortable, the more and more Adam Fuller figures out his rotations, the more and more these guys become, because you got pieces on the front line, you got pieces on the back end that probably haven't played a lot or probably haven't played on this team at all before, right? Once these guys continue to get more comfortable, they may be really fucking good by the time all that's said and done. This was the first game of the season. You heard Mike Norvell after the game. They have not played their they have not played their best football. They did not play a mistake-free game. They didn't play anywhere close to what their potential is. Their potential is to score 60. That's how good that goddamn team is, right? A team that came out sputtering, a team that came out that looked flat in moments, especially after their first touchdown. They scored 45 points against the number 5 ranked team in the country. Do you understand how crazy that is? And when you're watching it real time, the goddamn floodgates just burst open, and LSU could do nothing about it because they were not good enough to stop it. I told y'all the more turnover this team gets, the better that offense is going to look. They get a goddamn interception by Renardo Green, they come down and score immediately afterwards. That's the goddamn football team that I thought I was going to see. A team that capitalized off mistakes, a team that punished you when you didn't have a clean football game. That's like, you can't have 3 and outs against that goddamn football team. That offense is going to kill you. You can't turn over the football against that football team. That offense is going to kill you. That's just how lethal that offense is. And we haven't even seen it clicking, right? We haven't even seen it. We haven't even seen the 4 quarters as a well-oiled machine. I don't think people understand what we're looking at. We're talking about 2013 good as an offense. We haven't even seen it click. And I know some of you all think I'm gushing too much over one game. I know some of you all think I'm speaking in hyperbole, but I'm not. This is an offense that can punish you given the opportunity. And I promise you, Florida State is going to play enough teams on this schedule that are going to give them plenty opportunities to put them in the fucking dirt. And how do you defend them? The run game started working. When the run game started working, I got real comfortable in that uncomfortable ass seat. I got really comfortable because this is the last thing you want. Now is pick your poison in the sense of, I don't know what they're going to do, but it's probably going to work. I'm speaking as a defensive coordinator. I'm speaking as the opposing team. I don't know what Florida State is going to do because everything is working. Mike Norvell, you nasty motherfucker. You got tight ends running end rounds? Like, you devious son of a bitch. Like, you. Don't get me wrong. Brian Kelly called the shit game. Like going forward all those times on fourth down and not taking the points, that shit was crazy. But Brian Kelly was trying to prove a point. What do you think a coach means when he says, I'm going to beat the heck out of it? When you say I'm going to beat the heck out of somebody, you're saying that we're just going to score touchdowns. And that's what he was trying to do. We don't want to score field goals, right? We want to beat the heck out of you. We want to impose our will. We want to let you know what happened last year in New Orleans was a fluke. We want to beat the heck out of you. That's what going on 4th and 1 means. Well, problem with that shit is you're not as good as you think you were. You weren't better than the team you were quote unquote going to beat the heck out of. And he found that shit out within 2 quarters. There was nothing he could do after a while. Nothing. Give a damn. Mason Smith could have played. Wouldn't have made no damn difference. Denver Harris could have played. Wouldn't have made too much of a difference. Mike Norvell would have figured out something. I always talk about my fear of playing running quarterbacks when you have Adam Fuller at defensive coordinator. And Jaden Daniels made his plays. They didn't utilize Jaden Daniels the way they should have. And that's on Brian Kelly. And Brian Kelly, that's your ass. You'll figure it out somewhere down the line. I just knew you weren't going to figure it out in the first game of the season. And when I say Mike Norvell coached circles around him, so you saw Johnny Wilson with the 2 drops, right? And this isn't a pound on Johnny Wilson segment. I'm just saying I want everybody to pay attention to something. When you looked at the sets in which they were only called for 1 wide receiver, who did you see the wide receiver to be? It was Keon Coleman. What I'm saying is I saw a coach who wasn't going to allow a player who's dropping passes to shoot him in the foot. I saw last season those same 1 receiver sets be manned by Johnny Wilson as that 1 receiver. You keep dropping these goddamn passes, I can't allow you to keep putting this team, I can't allow you to handcuff this team. Because drop passes, to me, drop passes are even more drive killers than penalties. Drop pass will really hurt you. So that's coaching, right? Hey, listen, I'm going to move Keon in this role, and it paid off. Even when the ball didn't come his way, even if it was a running play, the fact that you put Keon Coleman out there and not Johnny Wilson, to me, that says a lot and it sends a message. And they probably even drew it up their way. I don't know. Those stats probably did call for Keon Coleman to be on the field regardless of whether or not Johnny Wilson drops footballs. I don't know. I'm just telling you based on what I saw last season, it didn't. I think you're sending a message when you do that shit. The adjustments he made at halftime, you just love seeing shit like that. That's coaching. That's not copy and paste. And what I mean by copy and paste is what I've been talking about really for the whole fucking show. Having a coach go out there like a Mike Leach, God rest his soul, he wasn't the type of guy to adjust. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to goddamn do it, right? So I don't know what, like the weakness of the defense could have very well been the front line. Mike wasn't running no goddamn football. Like I wish like hell I'd be a running back and Mike Leach recruit me. We ain't got nothing to talk about, right? He was going to do what he was going to do. And for the most part, it was effective. Kendall Browse, you all remember that guy. He didn't understand situational football. We found that out very goddamn quickly. They just have a system, and the system's going to fucking work. Even Nick Saban, he had to be more off. He had to open up his offensive mind and start hiring more offensive-minded guys because this run, pass shit ain't gonna work, and is ultimately going to catch up with us. So here's a guy catching up with the times, changed his offensive philosophy, and found guys to facilitate to that need. That's coaching. Mike Norvell is really good at what he does, and I'm going to talk about it. If you're tired of hearing the word expectation, don't come here. I'm going to talk about this shit every goddamn week because I just told y'all the expectations are going to increase every goddamn week. And I told y'all last week again, I'm excited for them. Let's meet these expectations head on. There's nothing about an expectation that this team has right now that bothers me. We talked about question marks, but with repetition, those things are going to get better. You saw Keon Coleman not field the punt, and you knew good and hell well last season Michael Pittman would have ran into the teeth of the return defense, and he would have caught that football. It's a teaching moment. It's fine. He'll learn from it. So what happens? That question mark it dwindles away. It literally fades into obscurity because once you start getting better at these things and once you get more reps at them, I'm talking about live reps, you don't really see them anymore. On the kickoff return, keep kicking it off. We got guys back there who can run it home. Keep kicking it off. Keep giving these guys more comfortability, right? Keep putting Fitz out there. Keep building up his confidence. Those question marks start to fade. And how the hell do you beat a team with no question marks? Listen, man, you all are excited, and I'm here to tell you, be excited. Don't put no cap on it because this is a really, really good football team, and they are being led by a really good head coach. We prayed for times like this, and I'm not here to say Florida State is back, but God damn it, because Florida State is championships. All right, when you talk about Florida State, quote unquote, being back, it's not winning a regular season game, right? These are confidence boosters. These are games you have to win to send out the statements. These are games that get, the fan base riled up. Great. When you say Florida State is back, a championship somewhere has been won. So let's pump the brakes on that. But God damn it, wherever Florida State is, I like it and sign me up for some more of it. It's all the time I'm giving you. It's all the time I got. You all can reach me at the Hot Seat 19 on Twitter, at the Hot Seat 19 on Instagram. Please, please, please like these videos. If you haven't hit the subscribe button already, hit that for me. It does a lot for this channel. It does a lot for the station. I appreciate you guys. If you hit play, you know what time it is with me. I appreciate you. Get in the comments. Let me know how you're feeling about this team. I'm not quite sure I'm going to come back next week because I'm not trying to talk about Southern Miss. I may not, but I'm not trying to talk about Southern Miss. But if I don't, I'll see you all whenever I do. I appreciate it. You are officially off the hot seat.